The 20th century philosopher Eugene Gendlin believed that philosophy was not just an academic discipline. He believed it could be a force for change and well-being in ordinary lives. Born in Vienna in 1926 and shaped early by displacement and upheaval, Gendlin spent his life exploring questions about meaning, language, and how human beings find their way. What intrigued him most was a simple, unsettling fact. We know things before we can say them, sometimes long before. So where do words come from? How do they arise from lived experience, which is always richer than anything we can explain? The act of giving form to inner knowing into words, images, gestures, Gendlin called symbolization. He taught that when we find language that truly comes from our experience, we become more able to meet life as it actually is, not as we wish it were, not as we pretend it is, but as it comes to us. That process can be healing. It can be empowering. And when what we know is expressed clearly enough to be understood, it doesn't just change us, it changes what becomes possible. Gendlin wrote, "What is true is already so. Owning up to it doesn't make it worse. People can stand what is true, for they are already enduring it." But Gendlin didn't want us only to endure what is true. He wanted us to give expression to our experiencing, to be able to say what we mean, because it matters. If we do not find a way to express what we live, then something uniquely human is lost. From this lifelong concern grew what he called the philosophy of the implicit, a way of thinking that transformed psychotherapy and offered a path toward deeper living for anyone. This film tells the story of a thinker who refused to separate philosophy from life and who showed how meaning can come freshly from experience itself. Eugene Gendlin, born Eugen Gendlin, grew up in a Jewish family in Vienna. He remembered a childhood filled with books, music, conversation, and intellectual curiosity. He also remembered sensing shifts in the atmosphere, changes that were felt before they were explained. This early sensitivity would later become central to his work, that the body carries a kind of knowing that comes before words. He would eventually call this the felt sense, a tangible, bodily sense of meaning that is present even when we don't yet know how to describe it. When the Nazis annexed Austria in 1938, Gendlin's family was forced to leave. Decisions had to be made quickly. Much remained unsaid. In 1939, Eugene, his mother Sylvia, and his father Leonid arrived in New York and began again. The experience stayed with him, the feeling of living in transition, of reality shifting under one's feet. It deepened questions that would accompany him for life. How do we find direction when familiar structures fall away? What helps us orient when the next step is unclear? And how do we express what matters when words haven't yet formed? In America, Gendlin learned English, worked, studied, and slowly rebuilt a sense of belonging. He became drawn to philosophy and psychology, especially questions about meaning and change. Why do some people remain stuck in old patterns, while others move forward, even after great difficulty? These questions led him to the University of Chicago, where he followed his interests in such philosophers as Jean-Paul Sartre, Maurice Merleau-Ponty, Edmund Husserl, and Wilhelm Dilthey. Gendlin was absorbed with the question of how experience becomes symbolized and the origins of thoughts and feelings. While working on his PhD, Gendlin encountered the psychologist Carl Rogers. Rogers emphasized the importance of a person's inner lived experience, while Gendlin brought a philosophical depth to understanding how one expresses the meaning of that experiencing. Each recognized something essential in the other. Rogers found in Gendlin a way to explain how real change happens within. Gendlin saw in Rogers a living example of how philosophy can make a real difference in human lives. Their collaboration would quietly reshape psychotherapy. Gendlin developed a philosophy now known as the philosophy of the implicit. Its central insight is simple. We always feel more than we can say. Every moment carries a rich, bodily sense of what is happening, even before words arrive. This more is not vague. It is organized, meaningful, and accessible. Language can express it, but only if our words are checked against the living sense from which they come. Meaning is not fixed. It emerges freshly, moment by moment, through the interaction of bodies, language, and situations. As part of Rogers' research team, Gendlin studied thousands of recorded therapy sessions. Using what became known as the experiencing scale, researchers noticed something striking. Successful therapy did not depend primarily on technique. It depended on whether the client paused and sensed their inner bodily meaning. Not emotion alone, not explanation alone, but a subtle, felt sense that forms when a person waits and listens inwardly. Clients who worked from this place experienced real, meaningful change, regardless of the therapist's method. This was one of the most important discoveries in psychotherapy research at the time, and Gendlin, with a degree in philosophy but none in psychology, nevertheless received the American Psychological Association's first Psychologist of the Year award in 1971. Gendlin made another discovery. This way of listening to one's own experiencing is a learnable skill. He wanted everyone, not just therapists or philosophers, to have access to it. So he developed a simple method called focusing. Focusing helps people pause habitual thinking, sense a whole situation in the body, allow new meaning and next steps to emerge. It is a way of letting life itself show how it wants to move forward. For Gendlin, this restored an ancient idea. Philosophy is not just theory, it is a way of life. Those who knew Gendlin described him as warm, humorous, and curious. He loved to play with ideas, turning them, testing them, following the sense of something more within them. With his wife and collaborator, Mary Hendricks Gendlin, he lived a quiet life devoted to making focusing widely available. The man behind the philosophy was not abstract or distant. He was grounded, engaged, and deeply interested in people. Focusing-oriented psychotherapy is an important and life-changing part of his legacy. But Gendlin's work extended far beyond psychotherapy. He was always primarily a philosopher, and later developed a process based in the philosophy of the implicit called thinking at the edge, a method for creating new concepts from lived experience. It is a process-oriented model of logic, grounded in life, not abstraction. He believed thinking should stay connected to its source, the ongoing flow of experience. Philosophy, he insisted, belongs to everyone. Over the decades, Gendlin's ideas have spread around the world. Today, focusing-oriented therapy and thinking at the edge are used by therapists, artists, educators, researchers, and communities across cultures. His work continues to influence psychology, philosophy, and what is now called embodied or process-based thinking. Eugene Gendlin died in 2017 at the age of 90. Though he left a treasure trove of books and articles, none of it is a rigid, frozen system. What he left is an orientation. Listen, pause, sense what is not yet in words. Let the next step emerge from what is implicitly there. This simple shift toward lived meaning has changed thousands of lives. Gendlin's legacy endures because it touches something universal. When we pause, when we sense, when words come from our experiencing, something moves, something opens. Life carries more meaning than we can ever fully say. Eugene Gendlin devoted his life to helping us to listen for that more and to let it speak.